Hello everyone, Venture here, and well, not gonna lie, this is a hard one. This isn't the circumstances under which I wanted this to be happening, and yeah, it's not really how I wanted to go through and end off 2020 or start 2021, but I feel like I need to go through and do something to deal with it, so this is gonna be my way. So today, I'm gonna be going through and doing an unboxing for the Operation Doomsday 7-inch box set by none other than the infamous and now legendary MF Doom, aka Zavlov X, aka Daniel Dumile. So yeah, I'm just gonna crack into this and basically just start rambling because this one is still sealed. And so I wanted to go through, and for everyone that didn't have the opportunity to be able to experience this themselves, I wanted to go through and be able to share it with all of you. And also just share some of my thoughts and experiences with this album and this unique, one-of-a-kind artist. So let's get into this and get this cracked open because it was already kind of split on the edge there. So no point in putting that off any longer. Crack into it and get this puppy open so that we can see the goods. Because like for many, this was my first real experience with MF Doom, Daniel Dumile, Zavlov X, the man, the myth, the legend. The album had gone through and come out in '99 on Fondle Records, but it was such a force that it quickly took off from just being the big underground hype, which is where I ended up hearing about it from, which was, underground hip hop magazines. You go through, pick them up in the late 90s, and that's where you'd get a lot of your news for what the new shit was that was coming out other than singles and mixtapes and stuff like that. So hearing about this album coming out and then my friends going through and hearing about this album from completely non-expected sources like car import magazines and shit like that. Like when this album blew up, it seemed like it was everywhere because it was just so recognized as being such a groundbreaking event. And so yeah, with the track list on the back there, we have 7 7-inch singles that have the tracks split on each side. And then of course, photo of Sub Rock and MF Doom, aka Zavlov X. So yeah, let's cover out of the way. Now let's actually get into the box set part of the box set. So yeah, I picked this album up. I mean, by the time I got around to it, it was probably 2000. I went through and tried to pick it up from my favorite local record store, but I was looking specifically for the CD version, the reissue by Subverse, because it had the video included for the I Hear Voices single, which was also included on that. And they didn't have it in stock at the store, but they went through and recommended, oh, hey, why don't you just go pick up the pick up the vinyl. Ooh, okay. So you go through, take the cover off, flip the cover, and immediately, even before you even get into this, like, yeah, this is beautiful. It's almost like you want to just put it up on the shelf or frame it and just stare at it. So yeah, I went through and tried to pick it up from my local favorite local record store, but they didn't have the actual CD copy that I was looking for. They recommended me the vinyl copy that they had in stock, which obviously, hindsight being what it is, I should have picked it up, but I didn't because I'm a fool. So I continued on my quest for the CD, which I ended up having to go through in special order from another music store, but I eventually did get it. And then I was stoked to be able to go through and watch the music video on my friend's computer, because that was something that you needed to go through and load up onto an actual computer to be able to see, and I didn't have a computer. Yeah. Late 90s, early 2000s problems. So, getting into the actual box set, from taking off the cover to the beautiful artwork on the inside of said cover, we now have the booklet, which is lyrics, transcribed lyrics. As far as I can tell, doesn't appear to be annotated, but just having this as a reference for being able to pick out some of the more complicated rhymes from his rhyme schemes is in and of itself a treasure, without having to go through and rely on, you know, internet transcriptions, which, as great as they can be sometimes, aren't always 100% accurate. People go through and miss things and misinterpret things, mishear stuff. Sometimes artists get mush-mouthed, as I was almost trying to do right there. But always having this to be able to go through, refer back to, and look back on. And honestly, sometimes as well, it just makes a huge difference for being able to pick out the references and the complexity, and then the wit as well, in a lot of the rhymes that you just don't get by hearing them, because you just miss so much. But seeing it all in front of you, having it broken down, or even having someone go through and break it down for you as they're talking about it. For example, if anyone hasn't at this point gone through and seen the video where Mos Def, I believe when he was recording the Ecstatic, went off on, you know, just a handful of MF Doom rhymes and quotes, and yeah, that's a treat to watch, especially today. That's a joy. So yeah, finally getting my hands on Operation Doomsday, and I mean that was at a time when you go through and you'd be buying singles, or you'd be buying albums, and you'd be buying the album and you'd be listening to it front to back kind of thing. Like, yeah, if there was stuff on it that was bunk, obviously you'd be hitting fast forward, but I mean, let's be honest, this was Doom, so everything was golden. Red and gold even. So once you get past the included liner notes booklet, which is basically just the rhymes, you have the 45 adapters, because this is a dinked big hole 7-inch record, so not the tiny ones that will fit nicely over the spindle, but, you know, with a big honking hole, which is why we have, obviously, the MF Doom themed 45 adapters, which is freaking brilliant. So those to go along with your spinning needs for both turntables, assuming that, of course, you know, you're picking this up for a DJing set, but what have you. And now let's get the actual records out of here. Because nice. And then still Doomsday on the inside. Inlaid and foiled. It's all the little care to detail and attention that they put into this that it's really just puts it, you know, that much more above. Beautiful. And so yeah, like many, this album was my introduction to the genius that was MF Doom. I'm still gonna have a hard time going through and referring to him in the past tense. So starting with up front we have some of the last tracks off of the actual album, if I'm not mistaken. The Question featuring Curious George. And then on the flip side, Gas Draws. And so these ones, because this is from the 2017 issue of this box set. So all of these box sets were, I believe, the original run of them. Not the reissue or repress where everything was on black vinyl. This was still with the different colorways. And you see, so you can already go through and tell with how some of these are laid out that all of this actually ends up going through and forming a nice nice. Okay, so it goes through and starts off with Gas Draws and Question Mark. And then it leads right into Hey, Operation Greenbacks. Obviously, Hey with the infamous Scooby-Doo sample that just blew everyone's minds and firmly cemented Doom in the comic book, cartoons, action figures, just nerdy hip-hop stuff, which was, you know, perfect for the burgeoning underground scene of the time. So yeah, everything being different colorways. We got the yellow, we've got a nice kind of minty green. Of course, it doesn't really show that way on the camera, but that's a whole nother story. Who You Think I Am on a kind of like orangish. Then we got The Finest on a nice red vinyl. And I believe that one has Rhymes Like Dimes on the flip side. Nice. And then The Time We Face Doom and Doomsday on purple. With the famous Sade sample. Sade. And finally, in blue, we have The Mic and Dead Bent. And yeah, so, I mean, this album dropped and the influence was felt far and wide. I mean, it kind of ended up becoming a blueprint for underground artists who are going through and trying to move from singles to an actual album release. Kind of gave the blueprint for that, as well as for underground artists trying to go through and like blow up. Like this really kind of became like, yo, you see how he did it? And so, I mean, he continued on. This was like, this was the shot across the bow to the industry. After going through and debuting under KMD and how everything subsequently ended up going with that whole situation. The tragic loss of Sub Rock, and then the follow-up album getting shelved. And from there, rising from the ashes of it all. Whoops. Not too good at actually going through and doing puzzles, guys. Sorry, y'all. And then rising from the ashes of it all as the Doctor Doom inspired MF Doom, the metal-faced supervillain, aka Metal Fingers, aka Victor Vaughn, aka King Ghidorah. And then so many more projects as collaborations under aliases, from Danger Doom to Mad Villain to JJ Doom to Neruvian Doom, and then all the guest spots afterwards. I mean, I consider myself fortunate in that when Danger Doom came out, I was able to actually go through and see him in 2005 in December in Seattle at Chop Suey, in a club that was considerably smaller than you'd figure for the amount of people that were that really wanted to see him, but managed to go through and actually get tickets and go there for the show, and it was one of the best shows I've ever seen. He had Macklemore opening, Mocha Only, One Below from Binary Star, Lil Psy from Science of Life, who at the time was going by Ron Robinson because he was kind of, being inspired and kind of like being mentored by Doom. And then obviously Doom is the headliner. And it honestly, I was thinking at the time when I was watching the whole performance and everything go down the entire evening, it felt like that open mic kind of skit scenario from the Vaudeville Villain albums, in the way that he had the various MCs that came up that kind of fit certain roles and aesthetics, and then he comes out at the end and just crushes it and just has everyone eating out of the palm of his hand, and is just controlling the crowd effortlessly and dictating everything. And it was a sight to behold. It was something that I will treasure. And yeah, much like this, it's something I'm going to be able to go through and think back on, and consider myself lucky that I was able to go through and be able to experience these things firsthand, be able to experience the man's body of work like so many others, and actually be touched and influenced by it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't I don't really know what to say. It's just honestly mostly at this point really been me just rambling, because yeah, Doom was, the more that I think about it and the more that I've had to go through and think about it, he was my favorite hip hop artist, and one of my favorite artists, hands down, just period. So yeah, this was just going through and trying to share some of that, and this lovely box set with all of you. So yeah. Now he's back to where his brother went. Peace, y'all.